Unlike your typical interview, we're going to tinker with this one. Find out what it's all about coming up next on All American People. Good morning. Welcome to All American People. This morning we're the 2010 Nonprofit of the Year, as voted on by visitors of allamericancities.com, the American Red Cross. We're filming in the Coastal South Carolina chapter's Emergency Operations Center, and we're focused on the life of Arthur Malin St. Clair, better known as Tinker.
Tinker, that's right.
Do you mind if we call you Tinker?
I'd love it, Greg. Do you mind me calling you Greg?
I like Greg, yes.
Greg,
Please
well,
stick with that. Thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you for having me, Greg.
It's a great treat to think about someone who has lived such a full life. I'm embarrassed to say we're almost on a century.
Yeah, well, I've had a good life, Greg. I've had a good life. Made a lot of good friends, and
yes,
came up and down. I was born during the Great Depression, but we loved it. A lot of people say hard times, but it wasn't hard for me. We
growing up in McDowell County, West Virginia.
Yes, that's right. One of the McDowell was one of the most southern states. Counties in the state.
Right, yes. I see it's oftentimes referred to as the Free State. Why is that?
Yeah. Well, some of the politicians, with the House of Delegates men, and it's call it that. Senator Byrd liked to hear that, and
yes.
They always said it was a free state.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Share with viewers real quick how you got the nickname Tinker.
Oh, that came from my grandmother, Greg. I had an older brother, and my grandmother was always after me a little bit about getting around in her, tinkering around with different things that I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
In her dresser or something like that. And so my older brother said, "You're a tinker." So that went on, stayed right with me from then on. And
he said it, your grandmother started using it, and it stayed with you from then on out.
That's right.
That is amazing.
And all my friends don't know me by Tinker.
That is incredible. And having I think you shared before we started filming this morning, having 5 brothers and 2 sisters, you clearly had a lot of folks calling you Tinker around the house and everywhere.
Oh, that's the only thing all the time is just Tinker,
That is amazing.
Call me for supper. It's still supper for me, Most people, it's dinner, but they call me for supper.
That
While
is great.
Playing somewhere with Tinker, they call Tinker.
Yes, yes. Well, share with viewers what it was like growing up in McDowell County, West Virginia. That is, I was amazed to read about it. The largest coal mining operation in the world has taken place there in McDowell County, West Virginia.
Well, that's right, Greg. U.S. Steel had, I think, about 19 different coal operations there. So they had to have this big cleaning plant and tip on it. And they would work 7 days a week.
Oh, yeah.
So they used their own coal to make their steel,
Right.
And it was one of the largest mining in our county, but we had several good mines besides that. But it was a real nice thing.
That is wonderful. Tinker, what do you remember most about your youth there, growing up in McDowell County in West Virginia?
Well, just having good friends, traveled with my young friends, we didn't have much to play with, but we just go outside and shoot marbles or something like that, We didn't get the big presents. It was just, I can't hardly remember too much of it, Greg, but it was all good.
Well, I know there were many special memories, and of course, being with you recently, you were kind enough. You and your daughter Patty were kind enough to invite me by to come by and see the amazing room. And of course, I hope you'll take the time to come by and be with us tomorrow to share with us some more about some of the incredible experiences from 1979 until the present, the 22 years of service there in the U.S. Senate and your many years down here in the area.
Oh, I'd love to come back, Greg.
Great, good. Well, we hope you will. But before we get there tomorrow, just see that room there at your home that has so many great memories associated with your early life. It was fascinating to hear you share a story about the postmaster there in the town.
Yes, yes. Well, that's the old postmaster he knew all of us, all the children, her father and mother. He knew everyone there. Population might have been close to 1,000 there in my little coal mining town, you know.
Right.
Because he knew us all. When I got up in about the 11th grade, I started getting a little mail, you know.
Yeah.
From maybe wanting me to go to some college or something. But anyway, my daddy was named Bill, and he walked in the post office there one day, and he said, Bill, he knew everyone, you know, by their names. Said, Bill, if you got a letter laying back there in the back for a week or so for Arthur Malin St. Clair. Have you ever heard of him? And my daddy said, that's old Tinker.
So truly everyone in the town knew you as Tinker.
Oh, that's all they knew me by. Yeah, they didn't know Arthur Malin. Nobody knew that.
That is fascinating, Tinker. Well, to see some of the literature put together when you first ran for office and became an elected official, I think you shared with us that you were possibly on the ballot as many as 17 times.
I think that's about right. Every election seemed like I was on the ballot for something, you know.
There's a primary and a general election.
Yeah, that's right, you know. Started off as a committee man, you know, in my district.
Right.
And got elected that every time the election would come up. And but then, let's see, I ran for, I got to be a deputy sheriff. The old sheriff, I worked there for maybe 8 years around the courthouse. I was a court bailiff for several judges.
Right.
Might have been 8 or 9 judges I went through.
Is that right?
Doing their bailiff for them, you know.
Right.
And after that, the prosecuting attorney of my county asked me if I wanted to come to work with him as a criminal investigator.
Aha.
I said, well, I'd be glad to. So I went down to his office and stayed with him a couple years, and he decided to run for another office. And I said, well, if you're going to leave this office, I'm going to file for justice of peace.
Yes.
And they call them magistrates now, you know.
Right, right.
So I ran for justice of peace, and it was 2 in each district, and I led the ticket for.
Wow, Tinker.
And I stayed there. That was a little tough job for me. Back in those days, there wasn't a salary. We was a fee grabber. Whenever the policeman's brought in, we'd get so much for each case, you know.
Right.
Maybe $1.50 for a case. Something. It wasn't too much money made in it, but it was a living.
Yeah.
And it was tough work because all during the night, you know, you was calling somebody needing a warrant or like that.
They'd call you
any hour. So I didn't care too much for that. So our county clerk was a good friend of mine. And passed away. I took him up to Bethesda, Maryland, to a hospital for checkup, but he still didn't make it. So the office come open, and I ran for it.
Yes.
So that
was in 1968, I believe.
No, that's 1965.
Oh, okay, good.
1965.
Yeah. Right.
So I stayed there for the couple terms it was, and then when I started going to Washington.
Exactly. Ultimately made the move on up to Washington, which we'll get into tomorrow, and I'm thrilled that you're willing to come back and be with us tomorrow. And of course, that the excitement there, having served and having been elected, or having been successful 17 different times. So many folks, you hear stories about someone running, not winning, and obviously having that drive to do it again. But what's that like, winning every time? I can't even imagine.
Well, I think everyone knew it because, well, all the children that I was driving to school, they got up voting age.
Right, yes.
And
you were a school bus driver.
Oh, yeah,
yes, yes.
about 3 years,
Right.
So those old boys and girls got up old enough to vote, and I got on the ticket every election, so they vote for me,
That is
and
wonderful.
So and I was the type of, and I stayed right down with my level people,
Right.
getting with the votes, that's where I got them. Down around the pool room, I went down and talked to the old boys a lot.
So it was the pool room, not the bankers or others.
Well, that's right. The bankers are all my friends, but and most of them, I'm sure, voted for me, but had some of them that I thought maybe being a holiday, they might have went to play golf that day.
Election day, that's right.
Election day.
Yeah.
But the old pool room boys would close up the pool room and say, "We got to get up on the hill to vote for Tinker."
Wow, Tinker.
So I got all that. That's what they call a handshaker. We didn't, every person I met, I wanted to shake his hand and ask him if he could help me. I'd appreciate it. Vote for me.
And asking for help is really the way to do it.
I'll tell you about that, Greg. I had, I think Tip O'Neill wrote this in one of his books that he was running for office, and as a widow woman living close by his neighbor, and he'd go over and cut her grass every day, or every week or so.
Right.
He'd take her down and get her groceries, and he'd take her to see her doctor, or go get her pills or something. Just anything he could do for the lady, he did it, his neighbor. So after the election, he met his neighbor, the lady. She said, "Well, you won your election, didn't you?" He said, "Yes, I did." She said, "Well, I'll tell you, I would have voted for you if you'd asked me." And, he took her for granted.
Right.
So it taught me right then, never take. I think your brother appreciates you asking him to vote for you,
That is an excellent point. You really need all the people you take for granted. You just got to ask them as well.
They appreciate you asking them, And I learned, taught me a lot about meeting the people,
That is very important.
I always had time to talk to any person I met. I wasn't a kind of a handshaker. I'd be shaking hands with you and looking at somebody else.
Right.
I didn't do that.
You were not doing that.
No,
you were focused on that person right there in front of you.
Let him know that I was interested in what he was talking about.
That's tremendous. That is tremendous, Tinker. Well, I saw back in 1974, I believe, when you were running for re-election, you were running with 80 and ultimately elected with 89% of the vote there. To see the excitement, I'm sure to think. And I saw a great quote from Senator Byrd talking about that you quote, the man to give the office back to the people.
Yes.
Which he highlighted that if he had used that early in his career.
He said, he wished he would have thought he would have used that.
Yes.
He said, give the office back to the people.
Which is tremendous to have lived your life that way. And
well, I did. The lawyers all felt free to come in and go over the records, I just kept the records for the county,
Sure.
Your deeds and all the different things, birth records and death records.
Critical.
And I just treated them when they came in. They felt like it was at ease with it was their office,
Yes.
I was just there to look after it.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful, Tinker. That doesn't happen all the time, so it's particularly great to hear